Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm so excited. Tonight we have a special treat for you all. Welcome to Interviews with Keesha Carter. And I'm so glad that you can join tonight. Or if you're watching the recording, make sure you put in the chat that you hashtag replay. And tonight, we're going to have a different kind of conversation. So if you've been following us, we have had survivor interviews and we have had some healthcare professionals to join us. But tonight we have something different for you. I'm really excited to have this special guest. I have known her. Wow. Has it been over 10 years? At least 10 years.
Because probably almost 10 years. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. I had the opportunity to meet this beautiful woman after going through cancer and connecting within the community. I don't even remember if someone introduced us or I went to one of your events. I can't remember, but y'all, if you haven't connected with this awesome lady, you must connect with her. So you're going to learn about her and who she is and why she's special to me. She is Carin Ross Johnson. And let me tell you, this beautiful woman happens to be from Miami, Florida, where I'm from, but we didn't meet there. 305. We didn't meet there. Carin and I happened to meet right here. She's a native of Florida. She's a native Floridian, but now she lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to meet her here. She works at a financial services by day, but by night and weekends or whenever she gets an opportunity, she's an advocate for women's health and education. She does so much within the gynecologic cancer community. And if you haven't seen her on Instagram, Facebook, she has a platform called Gyna Chronicles. And if you've been watching, yours truly was on there just not too long ago. And there's so much rich information on it. And I would love for her to tell you more about that later. And so without further ado, guys, gals, get ready for this awesome conversation that we're going to have tonight, where you can learn more about this CEO to CEO conversation called, our topic for tonight is Caregiving 360, a multifaceted impact on caregiving. So yes, we are going to talk about caregiving tonight. So make sure you like our pages. We're going to tell you more about that. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, visit our website. So the information will be in the chat box. So without further ado, Carin, hey! What's up? Oh my gosh. You have really made a huge impact within the gynecologic cancer community. I would love for you to tell us all about that. But first, how did you become introduced into the gynecologic cancer community? Like, what happened? What's your story?
Yeah, so trust me, I didn't want to be introduced to the gynecologic cancer community, but you know, it is what it is. So my mom had uterine cancer. She was diagnosed with uterine cancer, and now, you know, it's been over 10 years. I think last year was 10-year anniversary. And I was her best friend, chief caregiver during that time. She had a 3-year battle and passed away. And so when, you know, when she was going through her illness, she had said to me she wanted God to use her in the best way he knew how. And I was like, no, Mom, because to me, and, you know, a part of my faith, that meant, you know, he could take her, which happened. And so I also felt that meant she was leaving a legacy in place, and I needed to help support that legacy through getting the word out about gynecologic cancers, because we just didn't know what we didn't know at that time.
Right.
So from there, I started a nonprofit called Lydia's Legacy, named after my mom, and just got into community education. And our mission is, awareness through education and research, funding research through donation.
Wow. And so you mentioned the type of cancer Miss Lydia had.
Uterine.
Mm-hmm. So for those of you who don't know, there are 5 main types of gynecologic cancers. And so you have, I had cervical, Miss Lydia had uterine, and you have vulvar. I always struggle with that one.
Yep.
Ovarian, yeah. And fallopian. Wait, no, fallopian can be one, but it's not one of the top main ones. It's uterine, ovarian, cervical, vulvar, and I've got blank. I went blank. It'll come back. So I have to write it down. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have it for you. So with that being said, Lydia's Legacy provides education, and you said support for research. And why is this so important? Like, back then, I would say, I'm 12 years out, and you said that was about
a little over 10 years ago.
We didn't have the knowledge that we do today.
No way.
So for when Lydia's Legacy got started, I can't imagine, how difficult was that, trying to start a nonprofit about something that many people didn't know about.
Yeah, the evolution has been amazing. I really used my network, have an excellent network of organizations, that I volunteered in, a great network of friends, and they really helped to propel the cause. I mean, back then, the big cancer was pink, breast cancer. And now my friends wear teal, they show me their teal fingernails and teal toes. They send people to me because now they're actually educated about this cancer, the only cancer that is truly a woman's cancer. Men get breast cancer. Why research is important is exactly why you said. We've got to, it takes over $1 billion. And until recently, until this COVID vaccine, it would take 5 years to get a new therapy or drug onto the market. And there's someone who's doing the testing, who's, creating the trials, et cetera, and that's how research institutions work. And I've seen treatments that were not available when my mom, had her. Literally, Keesha, when my mom was sick, I would go to the nursing station and I would see the doctors, like their version of Google, like reading research articles to try to figure out types of treatment for her. And now it's different. They've got tumor boards, they've got, Zoom calls and a big network and that type of thing. So
we have
money in a short amount of time can go a long way.
It's amazing how much they didn't know, and now it's like, I know it's not the topic for tonight, but I'm just, as we were talking just now, I'm just amazed as to how much, how far we've come in this. And so I'm so glad, and you've been a big part of that because of the donations that you have provided for research. So some of the cancers for the gynecologic cancers, we were talking about vulvar, ovarian, cervical, uterine, vaginal. That was the other one. So, and then you have endometrial for some of you that don't know. So let's talk about caregiving. Okay. So you all know how Carin, what her relationship is within the gynecologic cancer community. And you see why we would love for her to come and talk to you. Her experience, not only as a CEO and having her hands and being, around the cancer community, but she had hands-on experience, like caring for someone actually going through cancer, gynecologic cancer. So during our conversation about today's interview, we talked about caregiving, and you mentioned that it's like being a 360 multifaceted impact. So what does that mean to you? Like, where did that come from? And I love it. It's so brilliant. So y'all listen up.
So first of all, I made that up. When you asked me about caregiving, I immediately thought about I put myself back in that place. We made a decision that I would be my mom's chief caregiver. And I mean, I'll never forget the day that we were sitting around the hospital room. The doctor told us that she needed to go into hospice. And my dad, my brother, and I all looked at each other, and we were all like, everybody, right? It's you, it's you, it's you. But I will never regret that time. But when I said 360, I meant 360. So it impacts, if you're a caregiver, it impacts your career, your manager, your coworkers, your friends, your family, your significant other, your children, your dog. I mean, it impacts everyone that's in your life one way or another.
Right.
So that's what I meant by 360.
Yeah. And I thought that was brilliant because that's not something that I thought about. You think about caregiving, you think about sacrifice, you think about I can think about it from the perspective of the caregiver and the perspective of the person they're caring for, their loved one, the patient, but never have I ever thought about the caregiver and the impact that they have on the people that that's on the outside, right? Like you said, the employers and the dog, like it's amazing because you pull yourself away from other things outside of your family when you're caregiving. So what are some characteristics that come to mind for you as a caregiver? Like when you think of a caregiver, what does that mean to you from your experience?
Oh, I mean, selfless is the first thing that comes to mind. Empathetic, resourceful. I like to say has capacity or makes capacity. They might not have the capacity, but they make that space for whatever reason, whether they had to or volunteered to.
I like that. Whether they have to or volunteer to, because they're
exactly. It happens both ways, right?
Yeah,
I mean, those
that's
would be
crazy.
some of the top characteristics, I would think.
So, like, when you think about it, like, so you volunteered in a sense because.
Yeah, I mean, it was either I would much rather have my mom under my care in our home than the other option, which was to put her in a hospice place that wasn't home you know, that was an hour and a half away from our home, you know,
Yeah.
it didn't take me long to make that.
Yeah. It's not an option. It was just like,
It wasn't. Not for
this is
me.
how it's going to be. So when you think about caregiving, what would be some advice that you would have with making that decision of being a caregiver?
Yeah, good question. I think it goes back to the characteristics. I do think, you know, if you have the opportunity to make the decision, make sure you can figure out your capacity. Do you have a support system that will support you? You know, are you able to ask for support? Or if you don't know how to ask, learn how to ask.
Yeah.
I think another thing is, are you able to make sure legally that you can, you know, be able to get information from doctors and nurses and that type of thing? Are you able to liaise with them? Because that might take some type of power of attorney or other HIPAA, you know, permissions. So, but I mean, mostly I would say capacity from the perspective of like, can your heart, your mind, your emotions, and your time, you know, do you have that to give? And if not, who can or who can share that with you? And what
Wow.
role you want to play, right? Because there's different types. You could be caring for the person's finances, you could be caring for their physical body, you know, you could be caring for all of those things.
Yeah. And I think, I know one of the things when we talked, you mentioned even having to hire someone to take on that role if
Yeah, and that's what I
don't
mean
have.
by support. I mean, we were blessed in the sense that we had my mom had a great hospice benefit. And so all the supplies and those things were there. And, you know, I paid for someone to help me, you know, like I needed help. And it wasn't even like a respite thing. It was divide and conquer, because a lot of the time I was by myself. My rest of my family was traveling. So, you know, someone to help me with meals while I helped with, you know, bathing and, you know, medicine and those types of things. So, you know, that just goes back to the support piece.
So with like what kind of advice would you give for that? Because like for some people who's thrust into being a caregiver and trying to decide, you know, delegating things as women, I know talking to several women, that's hard to do, you know, just to delegate for your house. You know, just being a mom or wife or whatever. So being a caregiver, like you said, asking for help, some women struggle with that. So do you have any advice? Like how did you do it? What worked for you?
Yeah. So organization, you know, I'm kind of a type A organized person. So if you're not, find somebody who is. But
Okay.
if you get yourself organized, what is the work? You know, when does it need to happen? And then the last question is, who can do it? So I did interview, you know, agencies that could help provide care. And I just found one that really was good, and they could send the same person every day. And so it was trial and error. I mean, sometimes weren't perfect, and you just, I mean, just go with it. But organization was a big part for me, having schedules, having technology. Like, this could have been like before they had the video baby monitors. I don't remember having that, but I did put a baby monitor in my mom's room so that if she needed something, she could talk to me and I could hear her, on the other side of the house. So it's like also getting
That's
creative.
awesome.
Yeah, it's like, so organization, sometimes a little creativity, but you have to be vulnerable. You have to be able to say, I'm going to raise my hand because I need help.
That's good. I like that. You said having some organization, having a schedule, creativity, and being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, those are some
and it
really good
paid
tips.
off because I have twins now, so I needed to use all those same skills.
I can't believe you had twins either. Like, wow. And so now you are being a caregiver in a different way. As a mother, typically we hope that mothers will be great caregivers. And, we have different types of people, but from what I know about you, you're doing a phenomenal job as a mother as well. Let's talk about resources that you used, or that what kind of resources were helpful for you. What do you recommend for caregivers that they could use?
I read. So when you go to the doctor's office, if you're visiting with the person that you're taking care of, look around because there are resources. Ask the doctor. I used a book called 100 Questions for Caregivers of Cancer Patients, something like that. I use Google a ton, like what to expect, or I'm not saying that's the best thing to do, but reading Google can be your friend sometimes. And you know what? I had the doctor's cell phone number. And I mean, a lot of people are scared to ask, how can I contact you without having to go through answering service? I mean, if there's a level of trust and education and relationship with your healthcare provider, you can get certain access. And I did. I mean, I would text the doctor like, this is what's happening,
Wow.
He would say, okay, she needs to go back to emergency, or, whatever have you. So there's a lot out there. And then I used, friends that it may have been through something similar. And I tried to do that, and I still do, when people have a parent or sister or someone that's going through cancer and reach out to me, I try to be helpful resource to them as well.
That's awesome. So being a helpful resource, it makes me think about my next question. When you talk about organization and schedules and things of that nature, what are some tips that you can provide for other caregivers with their everyday tasks? What are some tips for working caregivers versus non-working caregivers?
So the first thing I would say is documentation. Documentation is everything. I kept a little journal that had, this is what's going on today. This is how much she ate. I mean, that's everything. It takes you 5 seconds to write down, had these meals or whatever. And then I also organized meals. So, I mean, my mom didn't have a huge appetite, but I made sure to, if I couldn't go to the store, have somebody go to the store and have things, ready to go, the soup with the crackers and, all that kind of stuff. And then just wherever if you're physically caregiving, because caregiving comes in lots of types. I mean, mine was more like hospital at home. So it was the major, we weren't going out and that type of thing, but just having a regular schedule. Every day at this time, we do bath. Every day at this time, we do meal. Every day from here to here, we're reading books together or whatever have you, and just try to keep some type of normalcy and routine as well. So, I mean, there's a ton of resources out there, but those are the kinds of things that I needed to keep my sanity, but also to keep everything organized. Hopefully
That's
that
really
answers
good.
your question.
Huh?
I said, hopefully that answers your question.
It did. And I'm sitting here like thinking, wow, I love the organized schedule, because I can imagine you were working during this time. And so by you having that regular schedule and that sense of normalcy, I can imagine that helped you be able to say, okay, I'm working from this time to this time, that, you know I can come and breathe with her from this time to this time, meal prep from this time to this time. So like, I thought I turned that off. I'm sorry. So I think that's phenomenal, remarkable, because I don't know, like, I don't know if I would have thought to do that. It's just like, I struggle with that in my own everyday life, trying to work and be, a single mom and trying to meal prep. Oh gosh, that's one of my weaknesses right now. So
ask for help,
and that's the key, being able to ask for help and actually knowing that it's okay and that you deserve it, and that people want to help you.
Yeah, and that's one of my lessons learned, because by no means was my experience perfect. I did not ask for help. My family, is a very private family, and didn't want people, some people are like, I'm sick, everybody come see me. My family's not like that. It's like,
Yes.
we're sick, I'm sick, and I don't want anyone to see me like this. And so it was very lonely. And that's one of my biggest lessons learned. I mean, my mom had sorority sisters and church family that loved her, and these people called, and I just said, we're okay. And that is one of my probably bigger regrets, because I spent a lot of lonely nights when someone would have, spent the night with me, or brought over some food, or, that type of thing. So that would be something I would tell everybody watching. Help if you need it.
Yes.
Just ask, because there's people out there that will help you.
There's people who want to help.
Yeah.
I mean,
and want to. Yeah.
Coming here to the Carolinas, not knowing anybody, and to have strangers to set up a rotating schedule to feed me and my daughter, to take me to my appointments, and to pay my bills, that was what I called agape love. Like, I've never seen anything like that before. And so if that doesn't answer the question of who wants to help me, I don't know what else does. People want to help. So when you talk about the loneliness of, caregiving, especially when you're not asking for help, were there any support groups that you took part in, or that you were aware of, or that you are aware of right now, that to share with the people?
I did not. And for whatever reason, I didn't think to do that. Now, after my mom passed, I did, go into therapy, to be able to talk to someone about my grief and kind of the trauma of the experience. But most hospital systems, and I know we're on the web, so you may not be in Charlotte, but I know that both hospital systems, and I think it's more common now than it was back then, have different types of support groups, whether you're a caregiver or if you are a spouse or a loved one, and in different formats, group formats. There's, therapy, one-on-one, those types of things. And now online, there's all kinds of Facebook pages and chats and those types of things that people can choose to get very involved in or not. We have a great network. Ask people around you. I mean, that's how we found each other, right? Like, you ask your network of people who may have gone through the same thing or might know someone who's gone through the same thing. And sometimes these people can be, you know, unofficial mentors through the process.
Yeah.
Everyone's journey is different, but you know, there are little nuggets and things that you can learn from everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can imagine, you know, like I'm glad you mentioned therapy, because there are, especially within the Black community, there are people who are afraid to reach out for help mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And so, you know, that's one of the things I advocate for, is getting some help. Talk to someone, you know, someone that you can trust. So, you know, speaking about the mindset of the caregiver, you know, this 360 multifaceted impact on the mind of the caregiver. Did you ever experience PTSD, anxiety, depression, or anything like that? And how did you handle that? I know you said you went through, you know, therapist. So were there any other things that you dealt with?
I mean,
helped you deal with it?
Mainly for me was depression post my mom's passing. I never had any like guilt or post-traumatic stress. I mean, maybe a little bit, because I do remember a time where I did not want to go into a hospital. And I grew up in hospitals. Both of my parents, you know, were medical professionals, and I used to literally grow up running around the hospital pharmacy. And for me, that was normal. But after my mom's death, I was like, I don't want to smell a hospital, you know, so maybe that's PTSD. But for me, it was mainly depression. I didn't have guilt or regrets. And the depression came because she was my best friend, but you know, I had other issues kind of trying to readjust back to my normal, whatever was considered normal life. I literally went to Florida for 3 months and then came back and had to re-enter life and, you know, wake up and realize everybody's been living their life and I've been living in this cocoon of doom every day. And so, you know, but I used my faith, you know, my involvement with my church, creating Lydia's legacy. All of those things were therapy for me, as well as my therapy. And just, you know, I came to a point where I was like, okay, Carin, you got to get up, get out, and get something. You can't like just wallowing, you know. And then I found this community, you and you know, all my other Teal sister friends, and my other friends, you know, have been, you know, crazy supportive too. So yeah.
Wow. You know, I was thinking about it's hard when you hear someone tell their story for you not to think about your own, you know. And I think about your support system. You know, you mentioned friends and your family. How was that dynamic going, you know, during that time that you were caregiving for your mom? What did that look like for you? I know it's different for everyone, but this might give some insight to someone who's looking at, you know, this recording and want to know, what can I do for my loved one? You know, how can I be supportive to my friend or my wife or my husband or daughter or son, whoever is the caregiver, how can I provide support for him or her? What was that like for you?
Yeah, you're gonna make me cry.
Oh,
So I'm
sorry.
gonna make myself laugh by telling you I
Okay.
took my dog with me.
Oh,
So I
you
took
did?
my dog with me to Florida.
Mhm.
So that was really a great support. My husband, we had an arrangement where he would come every, I think it was every other weekend. So he came
Mhm.
to Florida every other weekend, and then
Mhm.
either the opposite weekend or once a month, I would come back and spend the weekend. So we, you know, so A, I could get some respite, and B, we could
Yeah.
stay connected. Um, my best friends, especially the ones I grew up with, flew from everywhere, DC, North Carolina, um, to help support me during that time. And there was a lot of text messages. So it's the little things. This is what I would say. If you've got a friend going through this, don't say, tell me what you need. Let me know how I can help. Just do it. Just do it. Just just send them a DoorDash $100 or whatever, how many dollars, 50, $25, whatever, gift certificate. Just say, I'm coming over and bringing you magazines. Just do it. Don't be afraid to intrude.
Mm.
But it's like, when you ask, that's putting a burden on the person to think of how they might ask you. Just do it.
Yeah.
That's what I would say, and it's the little
Wow.
things that are the big things.
Wow.
I just lost my best friend to cancer over the summer.
Mm.
And before she passed,
Wow.
I had someone I know who cooks make dinner for them.
Mm.
And I did not ask her. I said, I'm dropping some food at your front door. I'll be there in 20 minutes. But that was like one of the best lessons I
Mm.
learned is just do it.
Just do it. Wow. Caring for a caregiver, just do it.
Just do
And
it.
that's something that people say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I found myself saying it, but just do it.
Yeah. It's
Just do
little
it.
things like give them thank you cards with stamps. Just like anything that
Mm.
would help you. And even if it might not like be helpful, I think it's still helpful. It probably doesn't make sense, but.
Yeah, I get it. It may seem like, okay, um, it may not be something that you're the most fond of, but it's the thought that counts. It's the support, it's the love that, someone took the time to help or to reach out. That's awesome. Um, you know, I'm so sorry to hear about your friend, and here you are caregiving again, you know?
Hook or
And
crook,
so, huh?
I said hook or crook. It's what I do.
But you do it so well, and I know that's not necessarily the easiest thing to hear when you've been through that or when you're going through it. Um, After losing someone that you love, someone who's near and dear to your heart, your best friend, two best friends at that. What what kind of advice could you provide for caregivers with the grief process?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same. I mean, definitely take advantage of services offered. So, um, my friend that passed last summer, the hospice program offered free counseling. And for friends, for family, for whatever, take advantage of it, understand your benefits. If you have any kind of faith, lean on your faith. I mean, for me, that's a huge part. I had little cards, index cards that I carried. Yeah, and my purse carried everywhere. And they're in my nightstand. And I would just, when I needed it, I would just pull out and read a scripture. I picked the scriptures that spoke most to me, and for others, it could be something else. Find a place of peace. For me, I've got a little shrine type thing where, I have a picture of my mom, a picture of my best friend, a picture of my dog who also passed this past summer. And for me, that's comfort. For others, they may want to forget, but for me, it's a place where, I can kind of commune with them. Read about the grieving process, because there's stages. And if you're educated about the grieving process, you'll kind of understand that what you might be going through is normal, or what is normal and what's not normal, and this is going to sound a little bit crazy, or maybe it doesn't. But for me, I was like, okay, for those tough days, because there were days when I felt like if somebody looks at me funny, I'm going to cry,
Yeah.
And it's like, get through a minute, get through 5 minutes.
Yes.
Then 30 minutes, then an hour, and celebrate that hour, get through a day, celebrate that day you got through. And little by little, it'll be a month, it'll be a year, it'll be 10 years, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to have those times where you just want to flat out lose it, but you get healthier over time. The pain doesn't go away, but you get healthier over time.
Yeah, I like that. The pain doesn't always go away. The grief process is different for each person. We all handle things differently, but it gets easier with coping with it, with healing from it. I love that.
Right.
Gosh, my mind went blank. As you were talking, I thought about something and I can't remember what it is.
It'll come back, just like vaginal cancer came back.
Yes, it came back just that quick. So you encouraged me after going through cancer. I was broken. I was at my lowest low. And I remember sitting on I think it's a gray couch in your living room, and you sat there and you talked to me and encouraged me. And I'll never forget, I talk about it all the time. How you sorry, but this is real. Like your words that you just spoke. I really hope that whoever is watching this, and you need to hear those words, that you will hold them dear to your heart. Sometimes you just need a moment, a minute, a second, just to help pull you through. And those words that she said to me on her couch, I've never forgotten that, to help me get through, to help me cope after cancer. Okay, my treatment was over, but I was still dealing with depression and anxiety and grief, because, cancer took parts of myself, parts of me as a woman. And those words helped me to keep going. Just thinking about it, okay, if I could just get through this next minute, I remember that. And I share those words even now because I know how it helped me. So thank you for even mentioning it today. And those cards, like I have like sticky notes with little sayings on it around my house. And I remember putting scriptures up to help encourage me, little quotes that mean a lot to me to help this thing right here, our mindsets, right? makes a difference in our healing process, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And so I think it's so important that we find those things that empower us, that help us to keep going. And so for me, it was my Bible. It was there, there were scriptures that helped to keep me strong. But I love how you say, you carried them with you. You wrote them down and you read them when you needed to pull strength for yourself. So if you're watching, please look at those things, those phrases. Who are those people that you can talk to, who can pour into you? As a caregiver, you pour out, you empty your cup over and over again, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And then you're trying to be strong for that loved one. Who are those people who can do that same thing for you and pour back into you and fill up your cup so that you can have the strength to keep going 1 moment, 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 second at a time. So thank you for that. Oh my gosh. So we are coming at the top of the hour. Carin, thank you so much for sharing. I would love for you to tell us a little bit more about Lydia's legacy and the Ghana Chronicles. How can we contact you? How can, let us know what you're doing in the cancer community so we can take part, so we can support you. Let us know, how can we help you?
Yeah, so, in times of COVID, it's been a little bit difficult with a nonprofit, but the website is www.lydiaslegacy.org. And mainly we're doing community education. And I have a special project that I'm working on to provide PPE to cancer patients in the hospital, because COVID's, maybe we're kind of going to be on the back end over the next year or so, but for cancer patients, infection control is a constant. And so we have a wish list on Amazon for masks and hand sanitizer and that type of thing. So that's one really tangible way that people can help. And then Ghana Chronicles is...
Before you go to Ghana Chronicles,
yeah,
how do we get to that link to be able to shop for those items?
Yeah, so if you go to Amazon or Amazon Smile, you can search for Lydia's Legacy wish list, and the wish list is out there. We have a public wish list on Amazon, and also on our Instagram page, we have a QR code. So if you look at our Lydia's Legacy Instagram page, you'll see a QR code. You can just scan it and it'll take you immediately to the wish list.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And you were saying about the Ghana Chronicles.
Yeah. So this is an extension of the education piece. And I've linked up with my best friend from college, Dr. Jody Horton, and we have a live cast. It's also on Instagram, a monthly live cast on all things women's health. And we're really wanting to have women advocate for their own health, be aware about their own health. So you were a guest. We've got an episode coming up on heart health, and we got lists and lists of things we want to talk about, but it's just fun, creative. We usually have a little outfit we wear or a drink or something we're eating, but it's a lot of hard work, but it's a lot of fun. So check out our Instagram page, the Gyno Chronicles, and we are always updating when our next live cast is and that type of thing. And have your friends follow us.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
We have a Facebook page too. That's newer, but either
the Ghana Chronicles?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that
We're
out.
On Facebook now and Instagram.
Okay, awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from Carin Rice Johnson, directly as a caregiver. And, you know, this interview, Keesha, Interviews with Keesha Carter, this series is all about caregiving. So please make sure you stay tuned in. We have more to come. And I'm really excited about the other guests that we will have. But right now, you have right in front of you Carin Ross Johnson. Make sure you connect with her and see how you can help, how you can volunteer for her organization. Go on Amazon, get to that wish list, and so that you can help provide infection control, provide this PPE for people who are having to go into these hospitals, y'all. And as a cancer patient, you're vulnerable. Okay, so this is an amazing project that you have going on, Carin. So thank you for doing that. All right, y'all. This is it for tonight. We want you to stay connected. Make sure you visit us on our website, SCAWINC.org. You will get to see this video again. We are going to be also loading these on YouTube. So make sure you just continue to stay connected. We have so much going on in this for our 10-year anniversary. 2021 is our Serenity, Courage, and Wisdom's 10-year anniversary. And we want you to be a part of it. This is a time a lot of people are hurting. There are people who's looking for support. Share these organizations with the people that you know who have been diagnosed with cancer. You never know whose life you're going to impact. So thank you again for showing up. Caregiving 360, a multifaceted impact on caregiving with Carin Ross Johnson. Hope y'all have a wonderful night and see y'all next time.
Thank you, Keesha.
You're welcome.